The Florida Joint Center for Citizenship presents The Road to Independence, Video 2, the Stamp Act and the Townshend Act. The Declaration of Independence, written in 1776, outlined the colonists' complaints against the King of England and their desire to be free and independent. This document played an important role in the American colonies becoming the United States of America. How did this happen? What caused the colonists to write the Declaration of Independence? In this video series, we will explore key events that took place from 1754 to 1776 and how these events led to the writing of the Declaration of Independence. After watching this video, you will be able to summarize the events that led to the writing of the Declaration of Independence. Let's get started. For more than 150 years, the colonists lived peacefully under English rule. It wasn't until the mid-1700s that the relationship between the colonists, the English Parliament, and King George III changed and became strained. Some key events occurred that created this difficult relationship. In Video 1, we learned how the debt created by the French and Indian War caused King George III and his Parliament to impose taxes on the colonists, even though they did not have representation. In this video, we will examine the impact the Stamp Act and the Townshend Act had on the writing of the Declaration of Independence. King George III and Parliament passed a variety of acts which were laws that taxed the colonists. One law was the Stamp Act, passed in 1765, which taxed all printed materials, such as newspapers, legal documents, and playing cards. Colonists saw this act as unfair because it was a tax on items they used every day, and all of the money from the taxes went directly to the English government and not to the colonies themselves. In response to the Stamp Act, colonists began to organize and speak out with their grievances or complaints against the king and Parliament. Colonists sent a petition to the king stating that only colonial legislatures can tax colonists, and that taxation without representation in government went against the colonists' rights. Taxation without representation is the idea that it is unfair to tax a group of people without giving them representation in government. In response to the colonists' petition, Parliament canceled the Stamp Act even though it passed other acts. In the summer of 1767, Parliament passed the Townshend Acts. These acts taxed many items imported into the colonies, such as tea, glass, lead, and paints. After these acts were passed, Samuel Adams from Massachusetts wrote a letter calling for resistance against the acts and against taxation without representation. Additionally, colonists decided to refuse to purchase or boycott some of the items taxed by the Townshend Acts. Let's check in. How did the colonists respond to the Stamp Act and the Townshend Acts? Answer. The colonists began to speak out about their disapproval of the acts. They petitioned the English government in response to the Stamp Act and started boycotting some items taxed by the Townshend Acts. Well done. Let's recap what we've learned so far. The English government passed a series of acts to tax the American colonies. The Stamp Act taxed all printed materials. The colonists petitioned the English government with their grievances about the Stamp Act. The Townshend Acts taxed goods imported into the American colonies, and the colonists boycotted some goods taxed by the Townshend Acts. Now that we know how the American colonists reacted to the Stamp Act and the Townshend Act, I bet you can't wait to see what other laws the English king and Parliament enacted and the colonists' responses that contribute to the writing of the Declaration of Independence. Be sure to watch the next video, The Road to Independence, the Tea Act and the Intolerable Acts. Thanks for watching. This video produced for instructional purposes by the Florida Joint Center for Citizenship at the Lou Fry Institute at the University of Central Florida. Video produced and edited by the Florida Joint Center for Citizenship staff.